Right, let's talk about specific body parts. I'd love to do a series on this, you know, training each part, but for me, one that I've been asked about 100 times, and one that I've brought up myself really well over the years, is my back, particularly lats, you know. I always wanted that V-taper because I've always been into the old school physiques. I always wanted a decent V-taper, and I struggled to gain mass on my back. At the beginning it was like one of those things where I didn't feel like I was training it optimally. Over the years there's a few tips I've learned which have definitely contributed to that growth, so this video is going to be about how do you get bigger lats. The first thing is that you got to understand is 99% of people train, but they don't actually train, if that makes sense. So you get those dickheads in the gym who are just like, deadlift today, and it's just like no form, pulling, and it's like the only thing you're training is your fucking ego, you're not training the muscle. So for me, when I started, there was, you know, just the heavy lifting, the powerlifting style training, but over the years I've just got more into actually training the muscle. I'll see if I can find some pictures for progress. I'm pretty sure I've got some old ones on my iPad from when, you know, I used to train versus like my back now. I'll see if I can find them and put them up. So yeah, my first point is people don't train the muscle effectively. So one person I really like, who I would recommend everyone to watch, is Mike Wiedenbach, who he talks a lot about form, like especially the lat pull down and stuff. And how many people in the gym, let me put it this way, I think I've seen only a handful of people in my life where you can actually give them the nod and say that's good form on lat pull down. Exercise like that, people just go and swing, and it's like you're not training the back. You just, you know, you're literally doing nothing. You're pulling the weight, but you're not training anything. For me, over the years, the thing I've learned is that to train effectively for your back, it is all about form. Another one you really want to watch is Dorian Yates. You see this where he talks about on the row and stuff like that, like proper form, which very few people do. You know, your back muscles is such a big area to train that it really does say something about someone's physique. It really speaks volumes about how hard and knowledgeable people train. Same with your legs as well. Anyone can get big biceps or, you know, big shoulders, like those sort of vanity muscles, because they're quite small muscle groups and you can train them effectively quite easily. But for me, if your back is particularly weak, then you need to do more volume for it. That's that's not rocket science. So the way I did this particularly is I used to do I added in a day for each muscle where I would do a ridiculous amount of sets just for that muscle. It was like my volume day for that muscle. What you need to consider is I used to fall for the same sort of bullshit where people would be like, the only way, you know, you can get a big back or a big chest or a big this or that is to train these compound movements ridiculously heavy, which isn't true. So let me just put it out there. I put a lot of value in the deadlift. I think when you start, the deadlift is a brilliant exercise because you've got no muscle at all. You have no base, and to train deadlift or any of these exercises does tend to train a large muscle group, and you will get strong and you will see muscle gain. But as I said at the beginning, that was my approach to everything. Compounds. There was no focus on the muscle, there was no mind-muscle connection, and my back was nowhere near as good. So in terms of anecdotal experience, that's what I would say. Variation. How many times does this need to be said? Because it's obvious, right? Look in the gym and see people's routines. The people with the shit physiques normally do the same thing every week. I've seen tons and tons of bodybuilders and stuff talk about this, and it's true. If you're doing the same weight on the same exercises every week and you're not improving, then you're probably never going to improve because you're doing the same thing every week. So what I would say is, if your training is not working, if you're not seeing the results you want, then switch your routine. As I said, I took the deadlift out for a long period of time, and my favourite exercise was, you know, a heavy barbell row, but emphasis on strict form, where there never really was an emphasis on that before when I was deadlifting heavy. So switching your routine can do wonders. If you notice that you're actually lacking in an area, that is, if you're progressing, obviously why would you switch your routine? If you're halfway through, you know, a routine and you're improving massively, then there's no reason to swap. But swapping, you know, you're changing up your routine, changing up your rep ranges, things like this, they can obviously work wonders. So I know this isn't like your traditional sort of video on this matter, because 99% of people I've ever seen who have spoke about this, I've watched a lot of videos about lats, you know, and a lot of people just say pull-ups, deadlift, and it's like, Well, that's not addressing how to actually get a big back, because you can get a big back doing any exercise. It's actually about addressing the style of training, the way you train. It's not about the exercises. At the end of the day, you can go out and see accounts of people who have got a ridiculous physique just doing resistance bands. You can go out and see accounts of people who have a ridiculous back just because they're genetics, or just because of this or that. So there's no reason in just telling people you just need a deadlift that'll get you a big back, because it won't. If your diet, your training, etc, 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 all these points are not on point, then you're going to have a shit back. Right, this is what I want to say, because I feel like it is quite important for this video topic, is rest periods. So a lot of people just assume that less rest means I'm training harder, and it's like, well, fair enough, you might be training harder, but are you training more sensibly in terms of actually gaining mass? So you need to rest. I've seen this echoed by a lot of knowledgeable people. You need to rest enough so that you can put the same amount of intensity into the next set, otherwise you're not achieving the goal you're setting out to do. And this is important with back, because how many people do you see in the gym who are like, my first exercise, I'm going in, I'm going to do barbell row. It's like, fair enough. And they do barbell row, and they'll do 100 kilo, execute a really good set, and then it's like, next set, let's take off all the weight and do 70 kilo, then it's just like, throw it out, you know, then last set again. And it's just like, for me, in terms of training back, when you're training muscles like this and you're talking about these hard exercises, it's important to rest enough to actually put the right amount of intensity into your next set. I'm not going to do a video and say no exercises, even though this was more emphasis on actually the style of training. I'm not going to say no exercises. I'm going to recommend a few that I do actually really like. So seated pull downs, close grip, one of my favourites. So instead of using a standard bar, like I said, where 99% cheat, I find it actually really beneficial to do the close grip, and every rep really pull with your back, you know, really feel it in your lats. It makes a massive amount of difference. Once you get the form down on some of these exercises, they're actually phenomenal, and you realise that for so many years you were training shit. I do really like a row, you know, like an actual row with a cable, with the close handles. I do really like that, but the thing is, you really have to get your form down again, because 99% of people just swing or really push hard and just swing all the way. But when you really, I think this was the one I mentioned earlier where Dorian Yates spoke about this, but when you really put effort into actually keeping the form on this exercise, it's a phenomenal exercise for your lats. So that is an exercise I really rate as well. Pen lay row is one of my favourite exercises, so go on the internet, look it up. I'll put up a general sort of picture here. But this is one of my favourite exercises these days, because this takes out the sort of cheating element that some people, or 99% of people, have on the barbell row, because you can touch the floor for each rep, and it is actually a pull where your back is doing the work instead of just using momentum. The thing I will say as well, this is kind of, a lot of people will probably think this doesn't have any place being said, but it seriously does, is if you're talking about V-taper, which a lot of people are talking about V-taper, they want a massively wide back. Things like that are a lot to do with body fat and your general body composition. So if you have a big V taper, it's probably because you've also got quite a small waist. So it's about, you know, the overall physique. So obviously if you're trying to gain any mass, starting from a leaner base is good, because you'll be able to actually see the muscle that you've gained. Anyway, Happy New Year, because it is New Year's Eve today, so hope you're all doing something exciting, but at the end of the day you can't, so you're not. But yeah, Happy New Year. I'll try and do a few videos before I go back to work. Hopefully I can put them out periodically. Anyway, see you in the next one. Cheers.